Yo, what's up? It's your boy One Shot Nas back with another video. Today we're talking about how the Sony Fx30 is the greatest camera you can buy in 2025, or coming in 2025. It's 2024 right now. If you're a videographer slash filmmaker slash cinematographer slash you're trying to get an Arri camera, man, let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm talking about the Sony Fx30 and how it's the best budget cinema camera that you can buy in 2025. It's 2024 right now. I've been using this camera for over a year now. I've had a love-hate relationship with this camera, but to be honest, I think I'm gonna sell my Blackmagic camera just to buy another Sony Fx30. But here are some of the features why you should buy this camera in 2025. So let's talk about it. I'm gonna keep walking back in and out this spot because this spot is amazing. But first off, the first thing I want to talk about on why the Sony Fx30 is an amazing camera for 2025 is just because the price. The price is $1,800 for the body of the camera. It is an APS-C camera. It is a Sony camera. It does do 4K at all frame rates, even 120, even though it has a small crop. It does do 4K at all frame rates. So the budget, the internals, the fact that it's the FX3 but in an APS-C body, that is some of the reasons why the Sony Fx30 is like amazing. So again, the number one thing on why you should buy the Sony Fx30 this coming up year is because of the price. $1,800 just the body alone, top handle included becomes $2,200. Yeah, name some other cameras that actually have that price with the fan included, with the frame rates included, with the 4K, with the downsampling. I mean, I could keep going down the list. So when people say budget, I think they really don't know what they're talking about, because to be honest, this is the best all-around camera that you can buy in 25. So again, I'm about to buy another one. I've had a love-hate relationship with it, but I'm gonna buy another one. So yeah, it's a budget camera to people who buy cameras that are $40,000 or an $8,000 camera, or have 3 FX6s, have 3 red Komodos. Okay, yeah, you'll call it a budget camera then. But compared to the other cameras at this price point, that camera is amazing. The Sony A6700 is literally the exact same camera, except does not have any of the cinema features needed for a video first camera, and that's what we're talking about, a video first camera. So at $1,800, I think that this camera can hold its own, and has held its own for the past year and a half. I've had it for a full year. It's held its own versus my Blackmagic camera, versus Sony FX3s. One problem, which is the low light, but to be honest, it's been banger for me, so I think you should get it. Number one reason, the budget. I had to get up a little closer. The next thing why, okay, we just talked about the budget, but the next thing on why you get the Sony Fx30 is because it's 2025, and if you're a content creator, to be honest, you might as well get a camera where you can get into the system of videography. Content creators who strictly be content creators, you got to listen to some of the cons of buying a content creator camera. A content creator camera probably comes with one SD card slot. It probably gets overheated during shoots. It probably takes good photos, you know, has a higher megapixel count, but the Fx30 also does take pictures. The Fx30 also takes pictures, so I don't understand how your content creator cameras are gonna beat something that is video first, has photo capability, you know, and has a magnesium body that if you drop it, it's gonna be still an amazing camera to have. It's getting a little dark over here because the sun's going down, so if I go in the studio, don't be mad at me. But the amazing outside looks great. My daughter's down here messing with my legs. We're outside having fun. And we're talking about a camera that I'm probably gonna invest in a little bit more because, to be honest, it's an amazing camera. So going back to some of the features, the number one thing is the budget. It's a great camera to buy at this budget range. $1,800, great. Number two thing, get into the system of being a video shooter. There's a couple content creators who actually got into video. I'm actually one of them. But they had bought the Sony Fx30 because the other cameras that they bought, like the Sony A7 IV, A7S III, those are amazing cameras, but they had problems. Apparently, buying something like the Sony A7 IV, it's gonna give you overheating. So buying something like the Sony A7 III is gonna be a great like full frame camera for content. You know, you can buy the ZV-E1, ZV-10, but to be honest, like all those cameras overheat. And the fact that they overheat is like, why would you buy a camera that overheats? Sarah, please leave my camera alone. As you see it shaking, my daughter's messing with it. But the fact that a camera overheats, why would you buy a camera like that? The Sony FX30 obviously has a fan in it. That's like the #1 pro for me. So at the end of the day, you want to buy a content creator camera. You want to get into the video system anyways. You might as well buy a camera that allows you the purpose or the possibilities to get into crazy video work. 4K at all frame rates. You got APS-C, which is crazy for cheap lenses. You can do anything that a full frame camera could do. You can buy a speed booster. There's like a whole bunch of things on why you should buy this camera. I'm not going to be sitting here talking to you about the technical stuff. I talked about the technical stuff in the last video that I had about the Sony Fx30. I'm going to talk to you about why I think you should buy it in the first place. So we've talked about budget. We talked about, getting into a video system, as a content creator or a filmmaker, really talking about the content creation more than talking about filmmaking, because as you know, the Sony Fx30 is a filmmaker's camera, and any filmmaker who is making money from any camera has the standard of Super 35. So let's talk about the Super 35 part of this camera and why it's versatile in the ecosystem of Sony and why you should buy into Sony in general. So when you buy into Sony, you're really buying into like the king of all cameras at this point, because they have actually the #1 set of lenses. They have like the most lenses out of every camera ecosystem. So to be honest, when you're buying a Sony camera, you're going to buy into a family. And there's so many people who actually own Sony cameras. So to be honest, you might as well buy you a Sony camera in general. Now buying the FX30, sorry. Yeah. So buying the FX30 would be like the best possible thing to do, to be honest, because of Sony and the ecosystem and the fact that you can buy APS-C lenses for a Super 35 camera. So that's like amazing. So I actually bought my first set of Sony pair lenses. My second one's going to come, so I'm calling it into existence right now. But my first lens I bought for the Sony camera was the Tamron 17-70. Actually, I broke that lens, but it was a cheap lens. It was $700 for something that was for the 17-70, which is a 24-105 equivalent, and the lens wasn't that much. I have this Canon 24-105 version 2. That lens costs $1,200. It's full frame. It works very well, but I mean, Canon EF is dead, and the fact that it's a full frame lens makes it even worse. Right now, I'm shooting on the Sigma 24 1.4. The fact that you have so many things to pick from, and that this is an APS-C sensor, and it's Super 35, and it's Sony, helps you out when it comes to buying cheaper lenses, when it comes to putting on EF adapters, or when it comes to putting on speed boosters, things like that. Because you're buying into an ecosystem that is the Sony FX30, you get a chance to be versatile in so many different things. Now, if you bought the Sony FX3, you wouldn't have the same chances. You can still buy the EF adapter, but at that point, you're spending so much money on lenses, why even buy into an adapter when you just buy full frame lenses? So yeah, at that point, sell your lenses and then buy some Sony lenses. It looks super cinematic out here. I'm not gonna actually leave. So again, I'm making this video short because I just want to give you some inspiration and tell you why I am buying mines. I'm gonna tell you at the end on why I'm buying my Sony camera again twice, but I love that camera. So we talked about budget. We talked about buying into a video ecosystem. We talked about the actual ecosystem for Sony and why you should buy APS-C lenses and why you should buy the actual Sony brand. So now let's talk about the functionality of this camera and the workforce that it has, like the workability that this camera has. The workability that this camera has is like super amazing. I'm using really small words and putting super in front of them. That's my grammar as of right now, because I'm really just being passionate and talking to you guys. But the workability of this camera is amazing. First of all, every person you know probably knows somebody who's bought a Sony camera. And my daughter's agreeing with us. At this point, if you know somebody who knows somebody who bought a Sony camera, then why are you not buying a Sony camera? Because at that point, that goes to show you how versatile this system is and why people buy this system. And as a professional, you want to make money as a freelancer, videographer, or as a content creator, as a DP. This camera system is in every walk of life. So why not buy a camera that's in every walk of life that will get you money, that'll put you in the right doors, that'll get you the right friendships, because everybody has one. I don't care if you're a content creator who just straight content all day. You're going to be on a set. You're going to be on a set where there are multiple cameras on set, and probably 4 out of 5 of them are Sony cameras. So again, the workforce ability of this particular camera is you're going to find somebody with a Sony Fx30, period. I don't care what you're talking about. Now, if you have a Sony Fx30 and you're working with people with a Sony Fx3, it's going to be fire too. Sarah, please do not knock down my camera. Bubby. No, Bubby, no, Bubby, no. if you're working with somebody with the Sony Fx30, they're probably going to want to hire you for a B camera. So the workforce ability of this camera, workforce ability, to be honest, you're going to get paid for having this camera on set regardless of if you're saying, I want the Sony a7 IV, things like that. Again, now you're not going to get hired as much if you're a video shooter first, if you buy a hybrid camera. And this camera has the capability of hybrid, but you're not going to get hired as much because the Sony a7 IV as a video shooter is going to crash on you. It's going to overheat. If you're doing a long form video and it's seminar based, it's going to die on you. So people are not going to want to hire you if you have a Sony a7 IV. Sorry, I take the ND filter off. So people are really not going to want to hire you too much if you have the a7 IV, because the a7 IV is going to overheat on set. The a7 IV is going to want to overheat on set. And who wants to buy a seminar? Who wants to hire a seminar shooter when you specialize in seminar? Asira, I love you. So who wants to hire somebody who specializes in seminar or events, and then we come back to your camera in 4 hours and it's overheated and no one has the footage nor have anything that was there prior because the camera crashed on itself? So nobody's going to want to do that. So the workforce ability of this camera, again, I'm making up a new word, is amazing. You're literally having a camera that everybody knows. Now, did everybody buy it? Probably not. But everybody knows this camera. So you're going to be able to join the Sony workforce and get you some paper. All in all, this goes into why the Sony Fx30 is like an amazing camera for going into 2025. Like, why would you not want to buy a camera that gets you paid, that is cheap, that has fans and has all its features? I'm not getting into the features. You know, it has 4K 100 all the way down, 120 down. You know, why would you not want to buy it? So I'm really just convincing you and telling you that people keep saying budget, but how is something budget when it's cold? It's fire. You know, when you want to say price friendly, cool, but I'm not going to say price friendly or budget. I'm going to say cold. So this camera, to be honest, I said I was going to sell it. Now I'm going to get into my last point. My last point is on why I had to re-love the Sony equipment and re-love what's going on. So to be honest, what happened with me was I really wanted to be a DP, wanted to get into cinematography, you know, and just continuously go down that road. But a small had a problem, and the problem was I had the Blackmagic 6K Pro, and then I had the idea that I wanted to go into Red and wanted to go into all these other cameras, which is amazing. I didn't have the money to afford that stuff, and the fact that I didn't have money to afford that stuff, you know, where the clientele, my whole spirit went down with the idea that I can't do it or I can't afford it. You know, I need to just save up for it. So my video client started to change. But to be honest, I looked up in my video. Yeah, that's a truck, baby. Really, my video clients have really been the same. It was just the way I wanted to go. And because I had the Blackmagic 6K Pro, I was doing videographer jobs with this camera, and it really wasn't helping nothing. It wasn't really doing anything for me, and it was really pissing me off because I had the Sony Fx30 who does autofocus, who does all these great things, and I wanted the DP raw image. I wanted all these different things, and so I was really hesitant to always grab the Fx30, and I was mad I didn't have 12,800 ISO. I was really getting to the YouTube hype. And long story short, I was getting to the YouTube hype. But to be honest, the YouTube hype was keeping me away from my clients. It was keeping me away from what kind of work I actually do professionally. It was keeping me away from the idea that I actually am a videographer who does freelance DP and who has a cinema camera. And I should embrace this camera as a cinema camera and not embrace this camera as a run and gun shooter, even though it can do that, or as a strict DP camera that doesn't have RAW. So I decided to sit down and embrace it. And I've been embracing it for the past 6 months, ever since I made my last video about why I'm going to sell my Sony Fx30 and get the Lumix camera. I had to look back and go, why would I buy a Lumix camera when I have the same features, actually better features, for full frame and open gate? I was like, man, I'm not doing that. So just for full frame and open gate, I'll sit there and sell my soul and lose the camera that I'm telling you about. That's an amazing camera over some BS. Yeah, brother, I had really shot myself in the foot with all this idea. So I ended up starting doing more video shoots, and I ended up getting into teaching schools and looked up and went, man, I hate having the Blackmagic 6K Pro. Because as a DP, there's a different type of work you take. You know, you take work that comes when it comes, or you take work that you know, is more cinema based, and you got to have a rig and an AC kit and ACs and 5 people on set. You know, and I said, you know, I really could care less. I need the money to do stuff. So I started taking more video gigs again. And I was like, you know, I think I want to focus on running my business, you know, and in running my business root is digital marketing and corporate video and social media video. And a Blackmagic 6K Pro is not the way to go when it's talking about that. So I decided to say, you know what, I'm going to reinvest in myself, and I'm going to buy Sony lenses. I'm not going to sell my 6K Pro. I thought about actually selling it, but I'm not going to sell it. And I decided to really just embrace myself again and go, you know, let's buy a Sony Fx30 B cam and go crazy. So I'm going to buy a Sony Fx30 B cam, and that's why I'm passionately telling you guys about why the Sony Fx30 is the best camera to buy in 2025. There's no comparisons I'm going to have about this camera versus that camera. No, if you're a videographer, bro, and you're trying to shoot long form content, I've been shooting this video for probably 20 minutes. It ain't overheated. It ain't did none of the stuff that on set has a problem. I mean, low light, but I got a 1.4 lens on here. You know, we could talk about this YouTube problem and all this other stuff, but I'm not going to sit there and talk about it, because I'm not going to sit there and gripe about it and talk about all the stuff that we don't have. No camera company is going to make the perfect camera, and we have to be okay with that, because that's how they make their money. They make you buy one camera, then another camera, then another camera. So again, I'm going to tell you that the Sony Fx30 is the best camera to buy in 2025. I'm finna buy another one. I mean, the A7 IV is good. The A6700 is great, but I'm finna start doing more content like this. And to be honest, this image right here that I'm sitting on is amazing. The fact it's picking me up from this mic is even better. So I was like, why would I buy another camera that sells me short on stuff as a content creator when I could just buy the same camera over again that's cheap, and on the used market it's $1,500 to $1,400, $1,300, and it goes lower and lower. So why not just embrace it? So I'm just telling you, and I'm kind of talking to you guys about why you should embrace it and why you should get the Sony Fx30 in 2025. Let me turn the brightness up real quick. Sorry, to close it, I had to turn the brightness up. Again, I'm embracing myself. I'm embracing what I'm doing. I'm finna start more content, and I'm gonna come to you guys. My videos are gonna be unscripted, because I'm gonna show you how passionate I get and how passionate I am. I'm gonna tell you about a Sony Fx30 in 2025 to better your video business, to better yourself as a content creator, to get the camera, the lenses, and get going. Who cares about the YouTube guys telling you what camera comparison looks better? I sat and watched a whole bunch of these guys just dry talk. Who cares? Buy a camera, buy some lenses, and get to shooting, bro. Nobody's worried about all that. This camera costs this much. If the camera cheap and you can afford it, buy the camera. If the lens cheap, you can afford it, buy the lens. Save yourself all the headache of sitting there worrying about if you bought the right camera or not. All right? It's your boy One Shot Nas. I'm back in another video. Stay tuned for the content coming up. I'm finna drop a whole bunch of bangers. I'm sorry if I lose you a little bit during the talk. I'm really talking to the guys who are listening. But I love every single one of you guys who like, comment, and subscribe. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe. And again, my bad, I love you guys for who are not too. But I love every single one of y'all. Like, comment, subscribe to your boy One Shot Nas. Road to 1,000. I got 300 right now. Let's get your boy to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. I appreciate you guys for listening. Like, comment, subscribe to your boy One Shot Nas. Peace.